The German Parliament is to hold a vote of confidence later in the government of Chancellor Olaf Scholz, which he's expected to lose. That would pave the way for early elections in February. Our correspondent Damien McGuinness joins us now from Berlin. Why is Olaf Scholz in this position, Damien?
Well, it's a bit counterintuitive, Martine, because in fact he has requested this vote to be held and he does in fact want to lose the vote. And that's because at the moment he runs a minority government, which means that he can't do anything without the help of the Conservative opposition. They're not very willing to help him. And that means it's effectively a lame duck government. This all comes after his coalition collapsed in November, effectively over a row over the budget. So that means that the only way Germany can get an effective functioning government is to dissolve parliament and to stage new elections, early elections. Ordinarily, they should have been taking place in September, but Olaf Scholz says no, we need to have early elections so that he believes he can win again and form a new majority government. Now, having said all that, his poll numbers are really bad at the moment. At the moment, the Conservatives are leading. So as it stands, it looks like the Conservatives would win an election, but things are very unclear. And there is a sense of a sort of a slow-moving political crisis in Germany because it's very hard for governments to form a majority at the moment. These coalitions are very unwieldy, and that's why there's a lot of things that are unexpected over the next few months before that vote is likely to happen in February. But what we do know is that today's vote, we're pretty much certain that Olaf Scholz will lose that vote, which means that the German elections, the national election, will most likely take place on February 23rd. That's looking pretty certain today.
And what are the challenges that face whoever is in charge after those elections?
Well, lots of challenges. Of course, there's lots of global crises, including war in Ukraine. And of course, you know, what's happening in Syria right now is very unpredictable. Crucially for Germany, it's the economy. For the past few years, there's been pretty much no growth. It's not quite a recession, but it's pretty much stalled. And of course, that has an impact on Europe as a whole. So all parties are talking right now already about what they would do to get growth going. A lot of it is all about tax cuts and stimulating spending and helping businesses. But I mean, the big question is how do you afford that? Because money, quite frankly, is pretty tight. So the election campaign has already begun. And I think the underlying difficulty, though, is the success of the far-right AfD. And what that has meant, not that they're going to get into government because no one will work with them, but they have eaten into mainstream parties' votes. And what that means is it's increasingly difficult for all the other parties to form stable coalitions. And I think that's essentially the underlying problem of Olaf Scholz's outgoing a three-way coalition, because you had three very different parties here pulling in three different directions. And that problem's not going to go away because the AfD is probably going to get even stronger in the next elections. As I say, it's not going to get into government, but it does make it more difficult for other parties to form a stable coalition. So this sort of instability is likely to be something we'll see again going forward in German politics. That crisis is not going away.
Damien, thank you very much. Damien McGuinness in Berlin.